There is no drama. There is no drama. There is no drama. I'm gonna use that as my intro. There is no drama, guys. There is no drama. Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video. And today, I have actually started streaming on 8 AM on a beautiful Christmas Eve morning because I've noticed that Gacha just recently, as of the time of this recording, released a video reacting to my content roughly 50 minutes ago. And my viewers let me know, and just a huge shout out to Gacha, right? I absolutely love his content, absolutely brilliant content creator. Me personally, I think there's absolutely no drama, no bad blood whatsoever. I haven't watched the video yet, we'll just see what's up. But me personally, I really think there's no drama. So we're just gonna see what's up. Before we begin, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas before the time this video goes live. All the best for your Ruan Mei poos. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into today's content. Subscribe! Treat me like don't get me dirty. Alright boys, this is a 23-minute and 20-second video uploaded as of 46 minutes ago. I'm doing this as fast as possible. We've been live on Twitch for the past 12 hours. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got called out by MrPokke.
Yo, what up?
Before we go any further, I would like to set a precedent here.
Thank you.
It is important to understand that this is not drama. This is a healthy debate, or is going to be a healthy debate between...
Wonderful. Yo, we're off to a brilliant start, guys. Before I even enter the video, I already know there's no drama. Okay, I'm glad that there is no drama, right? So, there's no drama, guys. I love Gacha. Give him a subscribe, give him a follow on Twitch, all that kind of good stuff. Shout out to Gacha. Absolutely wonderful content creator. All right, let's continue.
Between two men who share a passion for a video game that we both know and love.
Absolutely.
And we are sharing perspectives based off of our own accrued wisdom, experience, and knowledge that we've gained over the course of the game's release. And now we're pitting it against each other based off of what we understand. So regardless of who is right or who is wrong, I encourage this type of debate.
Absolutely, so I agree. If everybody is in agreement in honkaistarrail, it's gonna be so dead as boring. It's so boring. Like, oh my god, look at what happened to Jingliu. Yeah, Jingliu is the most broken ass unit in honkaistarrail, and like, there's no discussion on Jingliu because there's nothing to be discussed. She's just that broken, right? Differing opinions makes a community thrive. It sparks discussion, it sparks conversation. It's just generally good for the game itself.
And this is not being taken personal. I get it. You disagree. That's fine. You can disagree. And I think your disagreement is dog shit. But, and I'm willing to have that conversation too.
Yeah, let's go.
I respect you for at least sharing your opinion unapologetically and you know,
unapologetic. That's the right word.
Toes down on it. I love that, and I appreciate that more than going behind closed doors and gossiping like a little bitch.
Because we all know who's... Are we going to include this in the video? Okay, never mind. just continue.
And that you did that. I'm just saying, I appreciate a man who can stand up and say, look somebody in the eyes and say, no, this is my perspective. This is what I came up with my own thought process. Now we can talk about it, but I'm standing on it until otherwise. Now that that's out the way,
I am standing on it until otherwise.
Context. Well,
yeah, what's the context?
Pokke seems to think that Ruan Mei is overvalued and overhyped. Pokke seems to think that Ruan Mei is actually niche and that she can only be an enabler for dual DPS compositions. Not my words, his. We'll go over it and react.
Not the only enabler. Not the only enabler. She still works in a hyper carry setup. Just that between Bronya and Ruan Mei, like for example, if you only had to choose one, right, I would pick Bronya over Ruan Mei any day of the week in hyper carry. But she is still really good at hyper carry, and I explicitly mentioned that in my video, but just want to get out of the way.
He also seems to think that Bronya is still the best support unit in the game for hyper buff compositions.
Yep, I still think that.
I slightly agree with and slightly disagree with. We'll go over the nuances of that discussion here in a bit as well. But we're going to react to his video live and go over the thoughts. That way you don't think I'm taking words out of his mouth and twisting them around and all that good jazz. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, MrPokke, let's see what you're cooking up over here.
To a very hot topic right now is the discussion of
First of all, I see he ain't got them black glasses on. That's good, because he was looking like a budget Morpheus.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, Chair, we're gonna get new glasses, right? We're gonna get new glasses. Else because quite frankly, there has been a lack of understanding with regards to how each support function in different teams, and at worst, spreading misinformation and a specific unit. Now instead,
that phrase makes me laugh so hard.
Let me just drop. Let me read it up a little bit.
Bro, speaking Japanese, he was 100% directing that at me.
Yesterday, so here's the rough breakdown.
Ruan Mei's way higher. She's way higher than Bronya. She's way higher than everyone.
That's completely Ruan Mei, she is not the Omega Giga power creep. She's not power creeping the hyper carry team comps.
Nobody's disagreeing that they're not going to be really good. That's the thing. I think they're going to be great. The problem is Ruan Mei is going to be the new best unit on those team compositions. In fact, if you really want to be technical about it, saying she's not going to power creep hyper buff DPS compositions is insane, because at the very bare minimum, you're going to be running Bronya next to a Ruan Mei, which is literally stronger than any other character in the game on that dual DPS, or not on that hyper buff composition.
But she does not replace Bronya. All I'm saying, she can be ran with Bronya. She does not replace Bronya. That is literally the entire thing I'm saying. She doesn't replace Bronya. Because Gacha has mentioned that she's better than Bronya. She's better than every single support in the goddamn game. And from that sentence alone, she is better than Bronya. It insinuates to me as a viewer, right? To me as a viewer, it insinuates that Ruan Mei replaces Bronya. So I just wanted to clear that out of the way in case people are going to start using Ruan Mei over Bronya, which I disagree. I still think that hypercarry setup Bronya is still going to offer more utility, more value for the hypercarry, but you can use her with Bronya in the hypercarry setup. I've said it in my video, I've said it on stream, so
at the bare minimum, taking aside Bronya versus Ruan Mei and Bronya is absolutely power creeping hyper buff compositions. Now, going into Bronya versus Ruan Mei, we'll get into that in a bit once he shares his thoughts.
She is like the enabler to dual DPS comps.
Correct, absolutely. However, that's not all she does. She's the enabler to dual DPS comps. She's the enabler to break effect comps, and she can still hyper buff the hell out of hyper buff compositions.
She enables dual DPS to actually become competitive. Because let's be real,
they're still competitive right now.
The only competitive dual DPS comp is DOT units.
Cap. Again, cap.
Okay, I before you say cap, the other DPS comp is the follow-up comp with Topaz Tingyun. I don't think any other dual DPS is competitive. Let me know in the comments if you think any other DPS comp is competitive. Competitive as in like you can still easily do a zero cycle clear with a sustain. If you can't, that I don't think so.
So here's the thing, Mr.
Blade and Jingliu is not a thing though.
Free to play plus my ass. Let's put that in the trash. You are a dolphin.
Oh my god, I love this video so much, guys. I love this video so much, guys. Guys, alright, since we're on this topic, right, I'm just gonna put out a public statement. I'm gonna put out a public statement to anybody watching me on YouTube. And this is what I tell my Twitch chat every single day, yeah? I spend $20 in Honkai starrail. I don't spend only $20. So if somebody asks me, MrPokke, have you spent $20 in Honkai starrail? Yes, I have. And that is not a lie. Not only $20. If you get it, you get it. Alright, that's it.
Every zero cycle you do generally has everyone's signature light count. And Eidolon 1, Eidolon 2. Your Bronya's E2 with 161 speed, which is absolutely unrelatable to the majority of players in the game. So if you're going to sit here and make that accusation of that dual DPS compositions are competitive, then let's give them the same investment that you give your hyper buff compositions. So
even on the same investment on a dual DPS, I'm still confident they're not that competitive right now. I mean, I have a video on my members only channel where I showed that Kafka with another DOT team comp, you can still zero cycle with a sustain. So I think in that sense, I think DOT is pretty competitive, and that's even before we get 5-star DOT units. So yeah.
So Jingliu and Topaz, both signature light cones. Bare minimum, both signature light cones. And with both signature light cones, easy zero cycles. All
Jingliu, Topaz, support, and a sustain. I don't think I can zero cycle with that. I mean, prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong. I personally don't think that Tingyun and Topaz, both with S1, right, E0S1, E0S1, or even E1S1. Fuck it, E1S1, right? With a support with a sustain, I don't think they can zero cycle. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I really don't think you can.
All day, every day. Okay, if you're gonna do the signature light cone investment with the E1 stuff, Topaz and Blade.
Honestly, I can test it right now because I have an E2S1 Topaz, I have an E0S1 Jingliu. I could test it. I could test it out off stream. I just think it's incredibly difficult. Even with Tingyun alone himself, with as a hypercarry setup, it is still not super easy to do a zero cycle right now.
Can also zero
This is
cycle.
my opinion,
I've done that. Topaz and Kafka, both signature light cones. Again, this is insane that because here's the
Topaz and Kafka. Okay, for me personally, I don't think Topaz and Kafka is a thing. Not this MOC, not any previous MOC. I don't think I've ever seen a Topaz Kafka zero cycle in my entire life. I'm genuinely up to debate because I've just personally never seen one ever. I've never seen on Bilibili. I've never seen on YouTube. I've never. Maybe E6S5, but not with E0S1. Please tell me I'm wrong, right, chat? Please tell me if I'm wrong, but never.
thing. You can't do more than a zero cycle. So saying that they're not competitive is wild. What are you doing a -1 cycle over there? Like, so that's incorrect information right there, saying that dual DPS compositions aren't competitive. And here's the crazy thing. This is before Ruan Mei enters the fray, which she's the only unit in the game with maximum uptime, giving bonuses to both units without sus uptime. Yukon can't do it, it's sus uptime. Bronya can't do it, it's really sus uptime.
Agree.
I don't know what else to say about that.
And that is why I say dual DPS comp is not competitive right now, because we do not have Ruan Mei. We do not have Ruan Mei right now, and that's why dual DPS is not as competitive as hypercarry setup. And the reason, okay, the meaning of competitive in Honkai starrail, okay, at the end of the day, competitive is a very subjective word. If in your opinion, a team comp can clear Memory of Chaos if with 3 stars is good enough, it's competitive, then that is your opinion. In my opinion, competitive means you can achieve a really fast clear cycle with similar investments, with similar motion values, damage per motion value, with similar setups. Like which is to say, I'm going to be mentioning it in my tier list video that's coming next. I'm supposed to do my tier list video, but since this video dropped, it is what it is. Running a DPS with 2 supports and 1 sustain, or 2 DPS, 1 support, 1 sustain. Between these 2 setups, the hyper carry DPS with 2 support, 1 sustain, they are generally going to clear a Memory of Chaos stage faster than the dual DPS setup with 2 DPS, 1 support, 1 sustain. Right now, as of version 1.5, because we do not have a very good support for dual DPS, right? Asta is just, it's all right, speed and attack, right? Yukong, you need to make sure that your buff covers 2 DPS and it's not very consistent. And I guess you can run like Pella for the AoE defense rate. But generally speaking, they're just not as competitive. They really are not. The only exception, like I mentioned in my video, is DOT. It's pretty much just DOT and maybe Himeko Topaz on the Fire Week stage, which we can't even test right now because we don't have any Fire Week stage in MOC 10, right? So I still stand by my point that right now in version 1.5, dual DPS is just not a competitive thing with the exception of DOT. And Ruan Mei may change that. I explicitly said that in my video. Ruan Mei, the arrival of Ruan Mei may change dual DPS to become competitive, to do a similar 0 cycle, 1 cycle clear, compared to a hypercarry setup with 1 support, 1 DPS, 2 support, 1 sustain. Assuming similar investments, right? Similar idleness, similar likewise, all that kind of stuff. So, but that's just my opinion, right? Let's go on. Okay, wait. Stop. What about Jingliu Blade? Guys, I've never seen a Jingliu Blade do a 0 cycle in my entire life. Not even 1 cycle, actually. If you could run, okay, assuming that our support is the same. Alright, let's assume that everybody's using Hui Hui, right? If we're going to be using Huo, Jingliu, Bronya, Blade, Huo, or Jingliu, Bronya, Tingyun, Huo. Between these 2 comps, the comp with Tingyun is going to clear infinitely faster than the comp with Blade. It can be a thing, yes, it is viable. It is not competitive. Try clearing. If you can prove to me that you can run a team with Jingliu Blade that clears faster than Jingliu Tingyun Bronya, I will rescind my case. But it is just generally not a thing.
Correct, but you're talking about right now. The whole entire premise of my argument is when Ruan Mei comes out. Anybody can say right now Bronya's the best and that hyper buff comps are the best. No shit. But when she comes out, that is not going to be the case.
But I'm still stating my premise before the thing, right? Like, that's why I said right now, dual DPS is not a thing. Like, okay, we haven't even got to the part where Ruan Mei comes in. So this is just me. I'm stating what's happening in the current Honkai starrail meta right now. There's absolutely nothing to do with Ruan Mei. But I'm just stating as it is right now, dual DPS is not a thing. But Gacha Max seems to disagree and thinks that dual DPS is a thing. Because, I mean, that's what's going on for like the past 1 minute, I believe.
You can't do more than a 0 cycle. So saying that they're not competitive is wild. What are you doing a -1 cycle over there? Like, so that's incorrect information right there, saying that dual DPS compositions aren't competitive. And here's the crazy thing. This is before Ruan Mei enters the fray.
But I'm just stating as it is right now, dual DPS is not a thing. Really stretching it. Most of the time, you just rather run Bronya plus a support plus a hyper carry and you're just gonna pack house, right? You just clean everything.
That's the final thing I want to take into consideration too. I love how this man has Bronya above Tingyun when every 0 cycle he's ever done has... You cannot 0 cycle without Tingyun being on the team. Bronya can only do her thing because Tingyun is on the team, or Tingyun and Pella are both on.
I've easily done a lot of things without Tingyun. Very easily, honestly. For 0 cycle, Bronya is the biggest enabler. She really is the biggest enabler for any 0 cycles. Maybe not for Clara, but for every other DPS, I'll always run Bronya for 0 cycle clear. And I personally feel it is very doable without Tingyun. It is still doable without Bronya, but it is comparatively harder to run a Bronya than to run a Tingyun than a Bronya. Or that's in my experience doing 0 cycles anyways.
On the team, triple freaking hyper buff carries. I mean supports. You cannot have Bronya in that tier without Tingyun, because Tingyun is the one doing all the heavy lifting until Bronya finally does her 1 turn ass buff.
Ruan Mei essentially allows you is that now we can actually potentially run.
Bro, what do you mean potentially? Hold on, listen. This is displaying no confidence in theory crafting. A man of your stature should already know there's no potential about no dual DPS with Ruan Mei. It's going to happen. Like,
it is going to happen.
Why are you having lack of confidence?
The reason why I have a lack of confidence is because theory crafting is still theory crafting. We can theory craft all day, all night, but theory crafting is still theory crafting. We have not physically tested out how team comps are going to perform in MOC 12 and pure fiction yet. So I don't want to give my viewers a false expectation that dual DPS is going to be absolutely cracked out of their goddamn minds before we actually see actual results. I always say this in my video. Theory can only bring you so far, and even when it comes to theory crafting, the simulated damage output, it is really different from what happens in reality. I think for a very good example I can give right now, right, is that Jingyun, right? Okay, and since we're talking about Jingyun, right, I've never hit Jingyun. I just think he has a lot of flaws, but if you can overcome those flaws, he's an excellent DPS unit. Jingyun does very poorly in a theory crafted damage simulation. Why? Because Lightning Lord is really slow, right? It takes forever to get Lightning Lord back up because Lightning Lord basically happens once per cycle. In reality, when you actually have a decked out Jingyun, you don't even care if Lightning Lord is slow because he straight up kills everything with that single Lightning Lord. And that's why Jingyun can still very comfortably do 0 cycle clears or 1 cycle clears because it doesn't matter about what the theory crafted damage for Jingyun is, like 5 turn damage output, 6 turn damage output. It doesn't matter if your Jingyun is cracked enough in practice. And there's a lot of variables that simply cannot be theory crafted. And that's why I don't want to say, oh my god, dual defense is absolutely blah, 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 blah. I just don't want to say that, right? I am saying they potentially might be a thing, but I just don't feel comfortable saying these things without having actual footage, actual testing. I haven't tested Mirror of Chaos 12, guys. I've not played Mirror of Chaos 12 yet, so I'm just saying it, right?
Potentially? There's no potential, bro.
And still have a pretty competitive clear speed with Hypercare and Ruan Mei, and therefore she's gonna completely replace Bronya because she's better than Bronya every single way.
It's not that she necessarily replaces Bronya. She's just better than Bronya. She has way more potential, enables way more variety while still being able to do Bronya's role on any composition.
And I still agree with that, by the way.
So here's the biggest disagreement I have.
All right, let's go.
A lot of these guys try to gas you up with this whole turn with Bronya. It's an illusion, first of all. This extra turn is an illusion. In fact, we have footage on MrPokke's channel himself where I'm going to show to you why this extra turn isn't as broken as they claim it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these footages. Okay, so this is a 0 cycle that Pokke did with Scylla and only using 2 other characters, Tingyun
Yo!
and Bronya.
Huge shout out to Silly. I've loved you since day one. I couldn't have been where I am without you. Absolutely broken ass DPS unit. Of course, huge shout out to Bronya and Tingyun, right? Let's see.
I want y'all to pay attention to what Bronya does in the first cycle, which is virtually nothing. She's pretty much an NPC that just generates points. He's like hostage all of her stuff because he has to, because that's how Bronya is. So he comes up in here, he's buffing him up, he's running his 3 turn. And by the way, this was a beautiful 0 cycle and a good tribute to Bronya and Scylla because they're best friends. I 100% get it. But look at who's doing all the work here, all right? That's a Tingyun buff given to Bronya, to Scylla. Bronya does an auto attack. Bronya does a auto attack. So no buff is on Scylla from Bronya right now other than her measly ass 10% damage bonus.
Yep.
By the way, Ruan Mei can do the same auto attack and still give this Scylla right here a 70% damage bonus, or 92 or 94 if you have the signature light called. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Scylla, and this is a picture perfect scenario for Scylla, by the way. She's to clean up the mobs, take advantage of the extra turn, one shot.
Imagine not critting, by the way.
Bronya's coming up again. Let's see what Bronya does here. Let's see what she's contributing. Another auto attack, which means Scylla's getting ready to go up again with no buffs.
Yep.
Scylla has no buffs still from Bronya. Bronya has done nothing except be an NPC. So that 38k would have been way higher with Ruan Mei.
It doesn't matter if the 38k will be higher in this specific setup because I just wanted to one-shot the goldfish. It could be 100k for all I care, but I just wanted to kill the goldfish. So.
And these fishes are blowing up, giving you a defensive shred on the monster.
Yep.
He ults, pops her, or pops him. All right, so they're all dead now. And now Scylla's gonna clap the cheeks off this person. Moving on to the next cycle. Here we go. This is very important, right? Because this is now where Bronya's value starts to come into play. But check this out right here. Bronya ults, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now there's an attack percent and crit damage boost given to Scylla in comparison to Ruan Mei, who's going to give her a 70% damage bonus plus an all-type penetration, which is way stronger than attack and crit damage buff when you have Tingyun already giving her attack and Scylla herself already having high crit damage threshold. There's a bit of a diminishing return there on this buff, but it's still strong. Whereas with Ruan Mei, way stronger with the all-type penetration, especially because Scylla penetrates people already with her kit. She already does a penetration.
Penetration, guys. Penetration.
So with Ruan Mei on this team, she's already losing to Ruan Mei in value right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's he do? Another auto attack.
Yep.
I wonder why. Because he's giving you this extra turn, which is a goddamn illusion. There ain't no
okay, the reason why my Bronya did not use her extra turn at all is because my Bronya here has 170 speed, guys. She has 170 speed. So realistically, your Bronya shouldn't be like my Bronya. Your Bronya would definitely be using a skill somewhere along those lines. The reason why my Bronya has not used a skill a single time, okay, I don't want to toot my own horn, but my Scylla is pretty decked out. She has 90% crit rate with 185% crit damage and 3000 attack. So my Scylla simply does not care for the buffs that Bronya can provide from the damage from the end action. She doesn't need it specifically. The reason why Bronya is here to give us the additional number of skill points while the final time we get an extra turn so that we can one-shot the devil. It is not really like it's really not that much on Bronya. It's just to show my Silly.
Turn because all she's doing is being an NPC right now.
She is. She really is.
Another skill point generation. Keep in mind, Ruan Mei can do the exact same thing. Anybody can do the exact same thing. And the value doesn't end here with Ruan Mei. She could, like I told you, you can put a 4th person in that team just to break the shields down faster with Ruan Mei, like Luca. And now you're getting extra value in addition to Scylla doing what Scylla's already doing. Whereas with Bronya, you can't do that shit. It's either another buffer or nobody at all. Now you can make the argument that put Pella on this team, and this is like overkill to the extreme, but this is an easy MOC format.
It really is not a good example. This is a very, very bad example to show. Because no one in their right mind is going to try to do an MOC 10-0 cycle with 3 units. So this is a really, really big outlier here. Maybe Ruan Mei might be really fucking good in a 3-man 0 cycle, but it is just super like outlier to the extreme, essentially.
That's when you start to realize the value of somebody like Ruan Mei versus Bronya.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, reing up Tingyun. And this is what I'm saying. Brother has Tingyun below Bronya, like glossing over everything that Tingyun is doing right here. Motherfucker, Bronya.
because my Bronya here has 170 speed, that's why she's really just there for us to just generate some skill points. And then we use our skill towards the end to get a little bit more buff. It is 100,000% not representative of the average player base. All right, I'm just gonna say it's just a very, very bad example to justify the teaming overbreak, because for almost every other scenario, right? If you don't have this very specific speed tuning, which I have done here, I've specifically speed tuned the Bronya to 170 speed for this very reason, to do a 3-man MOC 0 cycle clear. Generally speaking, your Bronya's gonna do way more.
Ain't above no Tingyun. She ain't shit without Tingyun, actually. Also, keep in mind the weakness break efficiency. Every little bit of damage you're doing to him with Ruan Mei on the team is much bigger. Much bigger, getting that shield down deeper. And if you break the shield, 10% multiplicative damage given to the party. Weakness
break efficiency doesn't make you do more damage though. It's just more toughness bar damage. Or does it mean you break faster? Okay, I think he meant you break faster. Yeah, you definitely break faster. Holy fuck, we have 400 viewers. Okay, anyways.
Finally, this man's Bronya is E2 with like 170 speed. That is not the gold standard Bronya that you compare to a E0 Ruan Mei.
Bronya's E2 is completely fucking useless. I'm just gonna say right here, her E2 here is completely fucking useless. It doesn't do anything. Even Bronya's E1 is fucking useless, because as you can see right here, my skill point is not even close to being done. So Bronya's E1 Ruan Mei is the best Eidolon in honkaistarrail. I can't reveal what's the Eidolon. It is infinitely better than any other islands we have. E1 Ruan Mei, guys. Super good Eidolon.
And again, keep in mind, 170 speed Bronya, E2. So, with that in mind, when you take away or you set aside hyper buff composition, what else can Bronya do? Nothing. Can she sustain the way that your Ruan Mei is going to be able to sustain on any team in the game? No, she can't. She delaying the action value of the enemy or increasing the weakness break of them? No, she's not. The only thing she can do is hyper buff. That's it.
I feel that the argument here where Ruan Mei could do the exact same thing as Bronya in this specific 3-man 0 cycle MOC with the perfect speed and all that kind of stuff. It is a very, very niche situation, and I'm not gonna lie, the entire fight, my Bronya literally skilled once. That is not normal, guys. That is not normal. The reason why I was able to do this is because my Sele is extremely well invested alongside with the bars of Tingyun. Not even gonna lie, that Bronya, it could have quite literally been any others. It could have been Pella, it could have been Silverwolf, it could have been anyone. And I think my Sele could have still done a 3-man 0 cycle because she's just that cracked. So to have the argument saying that Ruan Mei can literally do better than what Bronya does here, I can quite literally say this the same for Silverwolf or Pella, because you know, defense break, rest penetration, all that kind of stuff. It's not a very good example where in this specific video that I did for my 3-man 0 cycle, I didn't really make use of Bronya that well. In any other general purpose fast clear composition, you will definitely use Bronya's skill more than once. I can tell you for a fact that extra turn is gonna matter a lot, not just from the damage perspective. Lets your DPS generate ultimates faster. And now this is the part where, okay, it's very hard to quantify how do we take into this kind of like additional energy, additional turn? How do we quantify this into theory crafting? Because it's not strictly like do X amount of more damage. What would happen if your DPS gets their ultimate 1 turn sooner? Sometimes it might just mean absolutely nothing at all because your buffs are not lined up. The enemy doesn't have a lot of HP left. There's only mobs. Like it is very hard to quantify what's the value here. But for a lot of situations, you would value this extra turn over, let's for example say weakness break efficiency, break effect, speed buff, damage percentage buff. Rest penetration is really fucking good. I'm not even gonna lie. But the remaining 4 buffs that Ruan Mei provides, it's very hard to compete with exactly what kind of this extra turn has. This video is, or at least my 0 cycle video, is really just not a great demonstration. I just really want to see how fucking crap my city was. And on the topic of Bronya's attack and crit damage is completely useless, the same can be applied to Ruan Mei, which I've mentioned in my own video as well, is that Sele herself has a shit ton of damage percentage buffs. So Ruan Mei's like 60, 70, 80% damage buff. It's also getting diminishing returns, such as with Bronya's crit damage buff. And I can say damage percentage buffs getting diminishing returns is way heavier than crit damage getting diminishing returns, because my crit damage is not that high. It's like 180-ish%, right? Plus whatever crit damage Bronya is going to give me is going to give me way more value if my damage percentage is really super high compared to Ruan Mei. So something just to mention, keep in mind.
It's the same concept as like when Silverwolf first dropped. Nobody else could replicate what Silverwolf was doing. She was the only one of her kind.
Pella is better than Silverwolf, but that's a completely different video.
She was in a league of her own.
Yo,
Bronya,
Tectone!
in fact, for the longest, nobody could do
Tectone. Wait, I'm doing a video, I'm doing a recording right now. Yo, Tectone, what up? Yo, there's no drama, there's no fucking drama, dude. There's no drama. It's stealing my job. Dude, no. There is no drama. There is no drama. There is no drama. I'm gonna use that as my intro. There is no drama, guys. There is no drama.
Absolute booty cheeks. The crit damage bonus completely useless to a Dotka composition. The attack percent, Blade doesn't do anything with that shit. But I will admit her skill is broken on Blade because it actually counts as the follow-up attack. But there's a number of compositions where Bronya isn't the best fit for the job.
Having more universal applications, meaning to say it enables more teams, it is not that important. Same reason why Silverwolf is not that important in the endgame. Why? Because, okay, this is really not for like general player base that just wants to 3-star MOC. If you just want a 3-star MOC, then fuck yes, right? Ruan Mei is gonna pretty much enable a lot more team comps than Bronya. I'm not even gonna deny that. There can only be a few select team comps that lets you clear in a very, very fast time. Right now, as of version 1.5, pretty much most, if not all team comps, they're all hyper carries. And in this hyper carry team comps, pretty much everybody kind of want to make use of Bronya, right? Ruan Mei being added to this hyper carry team comp, that is definitely possible because like I mentioned in the video, you can definitely run both Bronya and Ruan Mei. It's just that I don't think Ruan Mei is going to replace Bronya to do what Bronya can do. Taking the MOC 10 video 3-man clear is just a really, really bad example because that is really not representative of the general player base. Having the breadth, right? Having the access to more team comps doesn't necessarily mean that these team comps are gonna all become zero cyclers without a shadow of a doubt, right? More access doesn't mean that they're the best access. Ruan Mei is essentially power creeping R-star Yukong Pella.
And Bronya.
She's gonna be replacing your R-star Yukong Pella as
and Bronya.
Alright, we'll agree to disagree, Gacha Smack. We'll agree to disagree.
You can't gloss over the dual DPS. Like making that the next meta. If any unit comes in the game and does that, that is a triple S tier unit.
You are already stuck with 2 DPS and 1 sustain.
You don't, the Ruan Mei can sustain. That's what you're not getting. Ruan Mei literally can sustain. Her action value is stronger than Imaginary's action.
We will see that when MOC 12 comes. I don't want to make false claims yet. But yes, I've also mentioned in my video, you can potentially not run a sustain with Ruan Mei because of the delayed effect. You make the enemy stay in witness break turn, so you could potentially not run a sustain. Yeah, she extends the witness break, but by the time the boss recovers the witness break and just gonna one-shot entire team and leave them at like 10 HP, you're probably still gonna need a sustain. And I will never find this out until I play MOC 12 or 12 or whatever kind of shit, right? So I prefer to be cautious on the cautious side of things instead of saying she's gonna do this right the fuck now and she's gonna do this for a fact.
Value is absurd. If you break their shield and she delays them, they get delayed equivalent to Imaginary with good break effect on.
I just want to say this imaginary break thing, right? Okay, we're gonna address it. The reason why Gacha Smack was able to do very fast clear with Welt on the previous rotation was because of Monkey. It's not necessarily because Welt can sustain every single. I dare you to try a team with Welt right now on like MOC 10 second half. He's not going to sustain your team. Because the reason why he's able to sustain, right, is because if you cancel Monkey's hit in between his hit, the Monkey is not going to punch your team, which is a huge damage drop off. Same thing for Decaying Shadow. If you manage to break Decaying Shadow, she's not going to let go of her charge. Because she charged, right? She charged for wait for 9 stacks, then she lets go. These 2 units specifically in the previous patch, a lot of their damage is like staggered in 2 different phases. And Welt can cut in and do those. But I can promise you, even if you run Welt in prison on MOC 10 right now, like with RGNT or even like previously in True Storm, like he won't be able to sustain.
And it's like, if we're gonna talk about meta and sweaty ass, nerdy ass, dorky talk, then you have to include the reality that there's not going to be a sustainer on these comps, because the best efficient runs are not running sustainers like healers, like Lorcha and Fushuan. They're not running them.
I have a very different take on this. The reason why I don't think a triple support run is legitimate is because, number one, you have to reset a shit ton of times to try and get, like, you make sure you don't get hit, make sure you don't get crowd control, that kind of stuff. Not very comfortable. Number two, having triple supports, it essentially enables almost every single DPS in the game to do a zero cycle MOC 10, because there's so much buffs. It essentially doesn't, whatever DPS you run, it doesn't matter. You can still do a zero cycle because there's so much buffs. You just need to wait for the perfect RNG to not get hit, and then you just do let the end DPS. So a real zero cycle in MOC 10 or MOC 12 or whatever, doing it with a sustain actually showcases showcases how much damage your DPS, your support can actually benefit out of. Because triple support into a DPS, it essentially pretty much almost every single DPS can do it. Can Ruan Mei replace a sustain? Okay, that is a completely different topic. Like, we're talking about, because usually right now, we're running 2 supports, 1 sustain, 1 DPS, and any of these 0 cycle clears, I think these are all legitimate 0 cycle clears, right? If Ruan Mei can straight up replace the role of a sustain unit, means that I can comfortably do a 0 cycle right now with Ruan Mei without using sustain at all, she power creeps Bronya. If she can comfortably enable a team to just not take damage because the extended winner trade, she just don't even need sustain anymore. She straight up power creep the entire sustain class. She straight up power creep. If she does that, then I think she's better than Bronya. I think she'll be better than Bronya. But that is really just, I have to wait until MOC 12 comes out.
He's sleeping on what Ruan Mei can do because he doesn't realize that you can actually just do Ruan Mei 2 DPSs and then the support can also pop off as a DPS while still doing a supportive role, or maybe throw in an Arlon in that bad boy.
If Gacha Smack throws in a triple DPS with Ruan Mei and one of the DPS is Arlon, he does a 0 cycle, I will concede. I will concede. If Ruan Mei can enable a triple DPS and one of the DPS is Arlon and he does a 0 cycle with this comp, I will concede. I will shut the fuck up. I lose. Period. Because ain't nobody topping that shit. Nobody in God's green is gonna top that shit, right? But is she better than Bronya? I disagree when it comes to hyper carry.
Nah, so you can't, nah, brother. You don't get to say when it comes to hyper carry, because that's ridiculous. You can't just throw that in there at the when it comes to hyper carry. Nah, bro, because you said she's overhyped. You're right. If she's overhyped, then you have to apply the whole scenario.
She is overhyped when it comes to hyper carry, because I don't think Ruan Mei is better than Bronya in the hyper carry. I just don't think so, right? She's better than Bronya in the dual DPS, but we'll have to wait and see when dual DPS actually comes out. The MOC 10 example is really just a very, very poor example because my city is just way too cracked. Like that Bronya slot could have been replaced by any support and my city could probably just straight up kill, because the only buff that Bronya provided there was the crit damage buff and the damage buff, and I'm not even gonna lie, it is redundant because I was just doing so much damage. So that could have been Yukong, that could have been Paladin, it could have been anyone. So a very bad example.
At the bare minimum, does her job plus all the other things I just mentioned. I rest my case, man. Those are my thoughts.
Guys, it's a very wholesome comment, guys. I'm glad to see that content creators can disagree and not act like they insulted their moms. It's healthy, it's how the game and the community improves. I respect the both of you and would love to see a live debate as long as it remains respectful. Yo, a YouTube comment section without drama? Is this actually real? Holy shit. Yo, Tectone, you can no longer react to this because this is not drama. There is no drama. I have no enemies. Yo, Tectone, you like Vinland Saga so much, right? I have no enemies. Excellent video. I'm so sorry that my sunglasses pissed you off. I look like a budget Morbius. I'll try to get better sunglasses. I'm sorry, okay. The two main takeaways I got from this video is that number one, Gacha Smack believes that Ruan Mei is at least the same in terms of support buffs to Bronya in a hyper carry comp. I will agree with this statement if Ruan Mei can enable our hyper carry comp to not run a sustain. A situation with Ruan Mei, because of the extended break, because of the delayed action value, all that kind of stuff, Ruan Mei enables a hyper carry to just comfortably, I'm not talking about grinding on a specific stage for like 1 hour, right? Comfortably clear a stage without running a sustain. Ruan Mei is better than Bronya. Straight up, right? Because she's not replacing Bronya, she's replacing your sustain. Why would you need a sustain when you can just straight up not let the enemy move? If Ruan Mei can do that, then holy shit, she is absolutely cracked. But we'll have to see, right? And one of the reasons why I don't think this is a very likely possibility, your supports are all different elements from the enemies. Most of the time anyways, right? Realistically, it's not gonna happen very often. A lot of time in hypercarry team comp, your supports are usually off element, generally speaking, right? So I have my doubts as to whether Ruan Mei can enable us to run a comp without sustain because of the additional break efficiency as well as the additional delay, right? If she can, she's better than Bronya, right? She's better than Bronya. Then another point that Gacha Smack mentioned is kind of related to the previous point, is that she'll enable your dual DPS to basically not run. Okay, actually it all comes down to whether do you need a sustain. So now we've come to the point where is Ruan Mei strong enough to power creep the entire sustain class? Because if she can, she's the best support in Goddamn World. If she can straight up power creep the entire sustain class where we don't even need sustain anymore, she's the best support. We have to wait until MOC 12 and see where that goes. If she can enable it, I'll rescind my statement. She's the best support, because let's be real, even Bronya right now cannot fully replace a sustain, right? even with a triple hyper carry, a triple support, you can do a triple support call with hyper carry, but it's just not comfortable, and you have to ground the RNG, you have to ground the hits, you probably need to do a lot of retries. So generally speaking right now, for most cases, you will still run a sustain. One last thing before we end off today's video, right? Ruan Mei can enable more team comps. Whether those team comps can give us a competitive clear speed, I'm talking 0, 1, or maybe even 2 cycle clears, that is up to actual testing. Theorycrafting doesn't matter if we haven't even tested the stage out. And I think just generally speaking, Gacha Smack has a lot of faith, a lot of confidence that Ruan Mei is gonna do a lot of things before we actually play the stage itself. For me personally, I like to hold my reservations before I actually do the testing, right? Because even if I do theorycrafting, even if I do damage simulations, if I go and dig up all the math from CN, it is just math. It is just sheet. It's just Excel. It is never going to replicate the real thing. So yeah, I have to be a little more conservative. That is my stand. Gacha Smack fully believes it. That's his stand. I don't see any reasons why both these stands can't exist together, right? It's just basically how confident we are in the unit. So at the end of the day, before we end off this video, huge shout out to Gacha Smack. I really love his content. Congrats on 50k. This is not a drama. I have no enemies. That's probably going to be the title of YouTube. I have no enemies. And I'll see you guys next time. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Peace. I genuinely cannot believe this shit. I genuinely cannot believe this shit. I genuinely cannot believe this shit, guys. Did I say how I genuinely cannot believe this shit? I genuinely cannot believe this shit, guys.